The day Annabel's father betrayed her started like any other family gathering, with fake smiles and hollow pleasantries. She stood in her family's grand living room, watching her stepmother, Grace, arrange fresh-cut roses in an antique vase while her father paced near his mahogany desk, checking his watch every few minutes. Annabel had spent the last 3 years working alongside her father at his company, learning every aspect of the business he had promised would one day be hers. That promise died today. "Everyone, please sit down," her father announced, his voice carrying that authoritative tone she had grown up respecting. "I have an important announcement to make." Jesse, her stepbrother, sprawled across the leather armchair with a smug expression that made her stomach turn. At 22, he had never worked a day in his life, preferring to spend his time partying and posting about his entrepreneurial mindset on Instagram. "As you know," her father continued, "I've been considering the future of our family business." He smiled at Grace, who beamed back at him. "After careful consideration, I've decided to transfer majority ownership and control to Jesse." The words hit her like a physical blow. She gripped the armrest of the sofa, her knuckles turning white. "What?" The word came out as a whisper. "It makes perfect sense," Grace chimed in, placing her hand on Jesse's shoulder. "A fresh perspective is exactly what the company needs." "Dad," Annabel managed to say, fighting to keep her voice steady, "we talked about this. I've been working there for 3 years. I have an MBA. I know every client, every supplier." "Annabel, please," her father cut her off, raising his hand. "This decision wasn't made lightly. Jesse has some innovative ideas that align better with our future vision." Jesse leaned forward, his designer watch glinting in the afternoon light. "Don't worry, sis. I'll make sure to keep you on in some capacity. Maybe in HR." Annabel stood up abruptly, her legs shaking. "Some capacity? Dad, you promised me. You said when I finished my MBA. "Things change, Annabel," Grace interrupted. "We have to think about what's best for the family." "The family?" She laughed, but it came out more like a sob. "I am your family. I'm your daughter." Her father wouldn't meet her eyes. "You'll still receive your salary, of course, but Jesse will be taking over as CEO next month." "Next month?" The room started spinning. "You've already decided everything." "The paperwork is being finalized," her father said, finally looking at her. "I'm sorry if this disappoints you, but it's what's best for everyone." She grabbed her purse, nearly knocking over a side table in her haste. "Congratulations, Jesse," she managed to say, proud that her voice didn't crack. "I hope you enjoy running the company I spent 3 years helping to build." "Annabel, don't be dramatic," Grace called after her as she headed for the door. "This is exactly why we needed someone more level-headed in charge." She paused at the doorway, turning back one last time. "Dad." He still wouldn't look at her. "We can discuss this later, Annabel." "No," she said quietly. "We won't." She walked out of that house with her head held high, waited until she reached her car, and then let the tears fall. Her phone buzzed, a message from her best friend, Monica. "How did it go?" She started the engine, her vision blurring. "They gave everything to Jesse," she typed back. "Everything I worked for. Everything Dad promised me." Monica's response was immediate. "I'm coming over. Don't do anything stupid before I get there." As she drove away from her childhood home, she caught a glimpse of her father watching from the window. For a moment, their eyes met, and she saw something flicker across his face, regret maybe. But then Grace appeared beside him, and he turned away. 3 years of her life. 3 years of early mornings, late nights, missed vacations, and canceled dates. 3 years of learning every aspect of the business, of earning the respect of their employees and clients. All of it handed to Jesse on a silver platter, because his mother had wormed her way into her father's life and convinced him that her precious son deserved Annabel's inheritance. Her phone buzzed again. "Monica, we'll figure this out. You're not alone." She took a deep breath, wiping away the last of her tears. Monica was right. This wasn't over. She might have lost her inheritance, but she hadn't lost her knowledge, her experience, or her determination. They wanted to push her aside. Fine. But they were about to learn that she was her father's daughter in more ways than one, and she didn't give up without a fight. 3 days after her world imploded, she sat in Virgil's law office, surrounded by towering bookshelves and the smell of old leather. The family lawyer had known her since she was in pigtails, and his familiar, weathered face showed genuine concern as she recounted what had happened. "I just don't understand," she said, twisting a tissue in her hands. How could he legally do this? I thought the company was meant to be split between any children. Virgil removed his reading glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Your father restructured the company ownership last year. As majority shareholder, he had the right to transfer his shares to whoever he chose. Last year, the betrayal cut deeper. So he had been planning this all along. Annabel watched as Virgil hesitated, then stood and walked to a large filing cabinet. There's something else you should know, something about your grandmother's will, he said. Her grandmother had passed away 5 years ago, leaving everything to her father. Or so she had thought. Virgil returned with a thick folder, placing it on his desk with careful precision. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, and she was, let's say, perceptive about certain possibilities. He pulled out a document and handed it to her. There's a clause here that your father doesn't know about. Your grandmother set up a trust fund in your name with very specific conditions. Annabel's hands shook as she read the paper. $2 million, she whispered. But why didn't I know about this? The clause stipulated that you could only access the money if you started your own successful business by the age of 30. Your grandmother believed in entrepreneurship, not just inheritance. She wanted her legacy to inspire creation, not dependence. She sat back stunned. Does my father know about this? Virgil shook his head. No. Your grandmother was very clear. This information was to be revealed only to you, and only if you were ever disinherited from the family business. She knew, Annabel breathed. Somehow, she knew something like this might happen. Your grandmother watched your father marry Grace, Virgil said quietly. She had concerns. Annabel's phone buzzed, a message from Monica asking how the meeting was going. She ignored it, focusing on the document in her hands. What qualifies as a successful business? She asked. According to the terms, you need to show a profitable quarter within your first year of operation. The business must be entirely yours, no family involvement. She let out a shaky laugh. No risk of that anymore. There's more, Virgil said, pulling out another document. Your grandmother left detailed records of various business contacts, potential opportunities, even market research she conducted. She wanted to give you tools, not just money. Why didn't she just tell me all this before she died? She believed you needed to find your own path first. Her words were, Annabel needs to understand what it means to lose everything before she can truly build something of her own. Annabel stood and walked to the window, watching the traffic flow below. $2 million, she repeated. That's enough to start something real. It is, Virgil agreed. But Annabel, this won't be easy. Starting a business never is, trust fund or not. She turned back to him, feeling something she hadn't felt in days, hope. Nothing worth doing ever is, right? There's one more thing, Virgil said, his expression serious. If you accept this challenge, you can't tell anyone about the trust fund. Not your father, not Grace, not even Monica. The money must appear to come from your own savings and investors. Your grandmother was adamant about this. Why? She wanted your success to be yours alone. No one could claim they helped you or that you had an unfair advantage. Annabel nodded slowly, a plan already forming in her mind. Can I take these documents to review? Of course. Virgil gathered them into a folder. Your grandmother believed in you. She saw something in you that reminded her of herself. As she stood to leave, Virgil called after her. One last thing. Grace called yesterday asking if you'd been here. She seemed concerned about any potential legal action. Annabel smiled, thinking of her stepmother's worried face. Let her worry. I've got better things to focus on now. Walking out of the office building, she finally replied to Monica's message. Meet me for coffee. I've got an idea. Her grandmother had given her more than money. She had given her a chance to prove herself, to build something of her own. And unlike the inheritance her father had promised, this was something no one could take away from her. She looked up at the sky, silently thanking her grandmother for her foresight. She had known Annabel might need an escape route, and she had provided one. But only if Annabel was willing to work for it. Challenge accepted, Grandma. Annabel and Monica sat in their favorite coffee shop, laptops open, surrounded by the buzz of afternoon customers. Monica stirred her latte, raising an eyebrow. An eco-friendly business? That's quite a pivot from corporate finance. I've been thinking about it, Annabel said, turning her laptop to show her research. The market for sustainable products is exploding. People want to feel good about their purchases, but they don't want to sacrifice quality or convenience. Monica leaned forward, scanning the screen. And you're thinking what exactly? Sourcing biodegradable packaging solutions for businesses. Everything from takeout containers to shipping materials. Annabelle pulled up another tab. Did you know most companies want to go green, but can't find reliable suppliers? The few that exist charge astronomical prices. And you think you can do better? I know I can. She opened her spreadsheet. I've already found 3 potential manufacturers who can produce at scale. If we can streamline the supply chain and build direct relationships with businesses, we could revolutionize the industry. Monica's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. Heads up, Jesse's been asking around about you. Apparently, Grace is worried you're planning some kind of legal action. Let them worry, Annabelle said, thinking of the folder from Virgil sitting safely in her apartment. I've got bigger plans. Speaking of plans, Monica said, lowering her voice. How are you going to fund this? Starting a business isn't cheap, and you just lost your job. Annabelle had prepared for this question. I've got savings, and I'm planning to approach investors. My experience at Dad's company gives me credibility. Monica hesitated. Are you sure you're not just doing this to prove something to your father? I'm doing this for me, Annabelle replied firmly. Dad made his choice, and now I'm making mine. The coffee shop door chimed, and Annabelle froze as Jesse walked in, wearing his usual designer outfit that screamed trust fund baby. He spotted them and sauntered over, pulling up a chair without asking. Well, he smirked. Planning your next career move? I heard HR is hiring. Annabelle closed her laptop slowly. Actually, I'm starting my own company. His laugh was sharp. You? A company? With what money? That's none of your business, Monica cut in, her tone icy. Look, sis. Jesse leaned forward, his voice dripping with fake concern. Why don't you come back to the company? I could use someone with your administrative skills. I appreciate the offer, Annabelle said, keeping her voice steady, but I'll pass. Some of us prefer to build something of our own rather than having it handed to us. His smile faltered. Dad's worried about you, you know. He thinks you're not thinking clearly. Dad lost the right to worry about me when he gave you everything he promised me, she said, starting to pack up her things. Tell him I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. Whatever you're planning, Jesse called as they stood to leave. It won't work. You're not cut out for this. Annabelle turned back, meeting his gaze. Watch me. Outside, Monica linked her arm through Annabelle's. You know what? I'm in. Whatever you need, market research, networking, anything. Let's show them what you can do. Annabelle hugged her, grateful for her support. First step, we need to find office space. Something professional but not too expensive. Already on it, Monica said, pulling out her phone. There's a new co-working space downtown. Very eco-friendly. They might even become your first client. As they walked, Annabelle spotted her reflection in a store window. She looked different somehow, stronger, more determined. Her grandmother had built her empire from nothing. Now it was her turn. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father. Jesse says you're starting a business. Let's talk about this. Come to dinner tomorrow. Annabelle showed Monica the message, who snorted. He's probably worried you'll become competition. Not yet, Annabelle replied, typing out a response. Can't make dinner. Too busy building my future. She hit send and turned off her phone. You know, Monica said as they reached her car, your grandmother would be proud of you. If only she knew how right she was. Annabelle smiled, thinking of the trust fund waiting to be activated. But first, she had to prove she could do this on her own terms. Come on, she said, getting into the passenger seat. Let's go look at that office space. I've got some ideas for the pitch deck we need to create. They drove away. Annabelle caught sight of Jesse watching them from the coffee shop window. Let him watch. Let them all watch. They thought they'd knocked her down, but they'd actually set her free. And she was going to soar. Your samples look impressive, Sarah, the restaurant chain executive said, turning the biodegradable container in her hands. But how can you guarantee consistent supply? We've been burned before by startups that couldn't deliver. Annabelle sat in Sarah's sleek downtown office, 3 months into building her company, Green Shift Solutions. The meeting was her biggest pitch yet, a potential contract that could make or break her business. We've already secured partnerships with 3 manufacturing facilities, she replied, pulling up the supply chain presentation on her tablet. I can show you our production capacity projections. I've seen the numbers, Sarah interrupted. What I need to know is why I should trust you over established suppliers. Annabelle leaned forward. Because unlike them, we're not just selling products. We're offering a complete packaging transition solution, including staff training and waste management consultation. Plus, our prices are 20% lower. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. 20%? How? Streamlined operations and direct manufacturer relationships. No middlemen. Annabelle didn't mention the trust fund that had helped secure those relationships. We can start with a trial run if you prefer. Before Sarah could respond, Annabelle's phone buzzed. Jessie's name flashed on the screen. She declined the call. Family business? Sarah asked, noticing her expression. Former family business, Annabelle corrected. I'm building something new now. Sarah nodded slowly, then reached for the contract. Let's start with a 3-month trial. 2 locations. If it works out, we'll discuss expanding to all 30 restaurants. Annabelle's heart soared, but she kept her expression professional as they shook hands. Outside Sarah's office, she finally let herself smile. Their first major client. Her phone buzzed again. Jessie had left a voicemail. Against her better judgment, she played it. Hey sis. Heard you're making waves in the eco-friendly space. Let's grab coffee. I have a proposition that could benefit us both. She deleted the message and called Monica instead. We got it, Annabelle announced when Monica picked up. The restaurant chain contract. I knew you would. Monica cheered. This calls for celebration. Drinks tonight? Can't. Meeting with potential investors tomorrow morning. Rain check. You're working too hard, Monica sighed. But I get it. Just don't forget to. She was cut off by another incoming call. Her father this time. Annabelle ignored it. Still not talking to them? Monica asked. Nothing to say, Annabelle said as she reached her car, juggling her phone and briefcase. They made their choice. I'm making mine. Back at her small office in the co-working space, Annabelle found Jessie waiting by her desk. He wore his usual smirk, but something about his expression seemed forced. Nice setup, he said, gesturing around the modern space. Very modest. What do you want, Jessie? Annabelle asked, setting her briefcase down. Can't a brother check on his sister? He perched on her desk. Actually, I have a business proposal. Dad's company is looking to go green. Good PR, you know. We could use your services. Stared at him. You want me to supply packaging to the company you stole from me? Come on, Annabelle. It's just business. Think about it. Guaranteed contracts, stable income. Dad feels bad about how things turned out. This could be a way to keep you in the family business. I have my own family business now, she replied, crossing her arms. And we're doing just fine without your help. Are you? Jessie picked up one of her prototype containers, examining it. These startup costs must be killing you. Where'd you get the capital anyway? That's none of your concern, Annabelle said, taking the container from his hands. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. Dad's not going to like this, Jessie called as she walked him to the door. He thinks you're being stubborn. Dad lost the right to an opinion about my choices, she said, holding the door open pointedly. Send my regards to Grace. After he left, Annabelle sank into her chair, her hands shaking slightly. They were getting nervous. Good. The restaurant chain contract would be announced next week, and then everyone would know Green Shift Solutions was a serious player. Her phone lit up with a text from Sarah. Contract signed and sent to your lawyer. Looking forward to working together. Annabelle smiled, thinking of her grandmother. She'd built her empire from nothing, facing much bigger obstacles than Annabelle was. The trust fund helped, but the vision, the work, the determination, that was all her. Opening her laptop, she began preparing for tomorrow's investor meeting. Let Jessie run her father's company into the ground. She was building something better, something sustainable in every sense of the word. The future was green, and she was going to lead the way. Not as her father's daughter or Jessie's stepsister, but as her own person, as her grandmother's granddaughter. The sustainability conference hall buzzed with energy as Annabelle finished setting up the Green Shift Solutions booth. 6 months of hard work had led to this moment, their official launch into the broader market. Press badges mingled with corporate name tags in the growing crowd. Everything looks perfect, Monica said, adjusting their banner. The prototypes are getting a lot of attention already. A reporter from Business Weekly approached, notebook in hand. Miss Annabelle, I'd love to get your thoughts on disrupting the sustainable packaging industry. Before Annabelle could respond, A familiar voice cut through the crowd. Disrupting? That's a bit ambitious, isn't it? Jesse stood there, wearing a suit that probably cost more than their entire booth rental. Behind him, her father and Grace lingered, watching the scene unfold. What are you doing here? Annabelle asked, keeping her voice level. Industry event, sis. Open to all players. Jesse picked up one of their display containers. Though calling these revolutionary seems like a stretch. We're launching our own eco-friendly line next quarter, actually. The reporter's pen moved quickly across her notepad. Mr. Jesse, you're saying your company is entering the sustainable packaging market as well? Indeed, he said, smiling. With our resources and established client base, we'll be able to offer much more competitive pricing than smaller operations. Monica stepped forward, but Annabelle touched her arm, stopping her. Actually, Annabelle said to the reporter, I'd love to discuss our recent contract with a national restaurant chain. They chose us specifically for our innovative approach and cost-effective solutions. The reporter's eyes widened. National restaurant chain? That's a significant account for a new company. We've also secured partnerships with 3 major retail chains, Annabelle continued, watching Jesse's smirk fade. Would you like to see our impact projections? Annabelle. Her father stepped forward, his voice low. Can we talk privately? Sorry, Dad. I'm busy with potential clients, she said, turning back to the reporter. Shall we discuss those projections? As she walked away with the reporter, she heard Grace whisper. How did she land those contracts so quickly? The next hour flew by in a whirlwind of interviews and demonstrations. Their booth drew consistent crowds, especially after Business Weekly tweeted about their national restaurant chain partnership. This is going better than we hoped, Monica beamed, handling another inquiry. We've got 5 potential clients wanting meetings next week. Annabelle spotted Jesse arguing with her father near the entrance, gesturing angrily in her direction. Moments later, he stormed over to their booth. Real cute, he spat. You just had to steal the spotlight, didn't you? Steal? Annabelle laughed. Like you stole my inheritance? That company was handed to me fair and square. Exactly. She met his gaze. Nothing in your life was earned, Jesse. That's the difference between us. You think you're so clever, he said, lowering his voice. But where did you get the startup money, huh? Dad's been asking questions. Something doesn't add up. Sounds like a you problem, Annabelle replied, turning to greet another potential client. Before Jesse could respond, a tall man in an expensive suit interrupted. Is there a problem here? Annabelle turned to him. Not at all. I'm Annabelle from Green Shift Solutions. I'm Thomas from Eco Retail Group, the man said, extending his hand. We're very interested in your products, but if this isn't a good time. No problem at all, Jesse said, forcing a smile. Just a family discussion. Former family, Annabelle corrected, shaking Thomas's hand. Shall we discuss your packaging needs? As Annabelle led Thomas to the meeting area, she caught sight of her father watching from across the hall. For a moment, their eyes met. He looked older, somehow worried. Grace whispered something in his ear, and they turned to leave. Impressive operation you've built, Thomas commented, reviewing the catalog in his hands. Your grandmother would be proud. Annabelle froze. You knew my grandmother? He smiled. Margaret was a force of nature. We served on several boards together. She always said her granddaughter would shake things up someday. Tears pricked at Annabelle's eyes, but she blinked them away. I hope I'm living up to her expectations. From what I've seen today, you're exceeding them. He pulled out a business card. Let's set up a proper meeting. Eco Retail Group has over 200 stores that need sustainable packaging solutions. By the end of the day, Annabelle and her team had collected more business cards than they could count. Monica hugged her as they packed up the booth. You showed them, Monica said, grinning. You showed everyone. Annabelle watched Jesse leave with his tail between his legs, no doubt heading back to report her success to their father. Let them worry. Let them wonder. Her phone buzzed with a text from Virgil. Your grandmother's trust fund is officially activated. First profitable quarter confirmed. Congratulations. She smiled, tucking the phone away. The money had helped, but today's success, that was all hers. And this was just the beginning. Green Shift Solutions announces 3rd consecutive quarter of growth. Monica read from her tablet, her feet propped on Annabelle's new office desk. Eco-friendly packaging startup disrupts industry with innovative solutions. Annabelle gazed out the floor-to-ceiling windows of their downtown headquarters, still amazed at how far they had come in 18 months. Read the part about the expansion again, she said. Under CEO Annabel's leadership, the company has secured contracts with major retailers and restaurants nationwide, with plans to expand internationally by next quarter. The door burst open, and Maria, their office manager, rushed in. Annabel, you need to see this. She handed over her phone, displaying a breaking news article. Joseph Industries stock plummets amid environmental violations and mismanagement concerns. Your father's company, Monica said, leaning over Annabel's shoulder to read. Oh wow, this is bad. The article detailed how Joseph Industries had been caught illegally disposing of toxic materials in an attempt to cut costs after several quarters of declining profits. Jesse's leadership was specifically mentioned as a factor in the company's downturn. Annabel's phone started ringing. Grace's number. She declined the call. They're saying the fines could be in the millions, Maria added. Plus the cleanup costs. Another call. This time it was her father. She sent it to voicemail. You don't think they'll try to come to you for help? Monica asked. They already are. Annabel showed her phone screen, displaying a text from Jesse. Need to talk. Family emergency. Please. What are you going to do? Monica asked quietly. Before Annabel could answer, Maria's phone buzzed. They're in the lobby, she said. Your father and Jesse. Should I send them away? Annabel thought about all the nights she had cried herself to sleep after they took her inheritance. She thought about Jesse's smug face at every industry event and her father's silence when she needed him most. No, she decided. Send them up. 5 minutes later, her father and Jesse stood in her office, looking distinctly uncomfortable. Her father had aged years and months, and Jesse's designer suit couldn't hide his desperation. Nice office, her father said, looking around. You've done well for yourself. What do you want? Jesse stepped forward. We need your help. The environmental violations, they happened under the old system, before we took over, but you covered them up instead of fixing them. Annabel interrupted. I saw the report. The fines will bankrupt you. My father sighed quietly. We need a partner with experience in sustainable practices. Someone who can help us transition and rebuild trust. And you thought of me? Annabel laughed. How convenient. Look, Jesse said, his voice cracking. I know we were wrong about everything. You clearly know what you're doing. We're offering you a chance to come back. To be part of the family business again. Part of the family business? Annabel stood up. You mean the business you stole from me? The one you've run into the ground. Annabel, please. Her father stepped forward. We're family. Family, she said, walking around her desk. Where was family when you gave everything to Jesse? Where was family when he tried to sabotage my company? Where was family when Grace spread rumors about my funding sources? They both looked ashamed. I built this company from nothing, she continued. No family connections. No inherited clients. Just hard work and vision, something neither of you would understand. We can offer you majority shares, Jesse said desperately. Whatever you want. I don't want your failing company, she replied coldly. I have my own. Annabel's father sank into a chair without help, looking utterly defeated. We'll lose everything, he muttered, his voice heavy with regret. Like I lost everything, Annabel replied, her tone sharp. She pressed a button on her desk. Maria, please show them out. Her father stood slowly, looking older than she'd ever seen him. I'm sorry for everything, he said, his voice breaking. I made a terrible mistake. For a moment, Annabel felt her resolve waver. Then she remembered her grandmother's words from her will. Annabel needs to understand what it means to lose everything before she can truly build something of her own. I'm sorry too, Dad, she said softly, her eyes steady. But you made your choice. Now you have to live with it. After they left, Monica hugged her. Are you okay? Annabel looked around her office. The awards on the walls, the growing team just beyond her door, and the skyline view she had earned through her own efforts. You know what? She said with a small smile. I really am. Her phone buzzed with another text from Jesse. Please reconsider. We need you. She deleted it without responding. They had needed her before, when she was working 80-hour weeks, learning the business, bringing in new clients, and modernizing systems. They just hadn't valued her. Now they could watch as their company crumbled while hers soared. Sometimes karma works in perfect ways. The news of Joseph Industries' bankruptcy splashed across every business publication. Annabel sat in her office, scrolling through the headlines. Family company collapses. Environmental violations lead to corporate downfall. CEO Jessie steps down amid crisis. A knock on her door interrupted her reading. Maria poked her head in. Your father's here again. Third time this week. Annabel sighed, closing her laptop. Send him in. Her father entered slowly, looking nothing like the powerful businessman she had grown up admiring. His suit hung loose on his frame, and his hair was now more gray than black. The house is being sold, he said without preamble, sinking into the chair across from her. Grace is filing for divorce. I heard, Annabel replied, keeping her voice neutral. Where's Jessie? Dubai, he said bitterly, supposedly trying to secure investors. No one will touch us now. He laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. I've had a lot of time to think lately, he continued, staring into the coffee cup she had handed him. About choices. About legacy. Your grandmother would be so disappointed in me. Probably, Annabel agreed. She believed in earning success, not handing it over. Like you did. He gestured weakly at her office. 2 years ago, I thought I was protecting the company by giving it to Jessie. I convinced myself he had the right qualities, that you were too emotional. And now, he trailed off. Now I watch you in the news, leading the industry, changing how business is done. His eyes glistened as he looked at her. You did everything I always wanted for the company, just without me. I had help, Annabel said, thinking of her grandmother's trust fund. Just not from you. The trust fund. He nodded. Virgil finally told me about it last week. Mother always was 3 steps ahead of everyone. He smiled sadly. She saw what I couldn't or wouldn't, that I was letting my new wife influence my judgment, letting her push you out. It wasn't just Grace, Annabel said quietly. You made your choices, Dad. I did, he admitted. He pulled an envelope from his jacket. That's why I'm here. These are my remaining shares in Joseph Industries. They're not worth much now, but... He slid the envelope across her desk. They should go to you. They always should have been yours. Annabel stared at the envelope. I don't want them. I know. He stood up. But I need you to have them. Not to save the company. It's too late for that. But because they belong to you. Because I was wrong. Dad, you know what the worst part is? Annabel said as he moved to the window. Watching me succeed without you. He nodded. Knowing I could have been part of something extraordinary if I just believed in my own daughter. Annabel joined him at the window. I would have made you proud. You did make me proud, Annabel, he said softly. Just not in the way I expected. He turned to face her. You built something better than I ever could. You did it your way, the right way. Is that why Grace is leaving? Because you lost everything. He shook his head. She's leaving because Jessie emptied their accounts before he fled. Like mother, like son, I suppose. Despite everything, Annabel felt a twinge of sympathy. What will you do now? Start over. Get a small apartment. Maybe consult, if anyone will hire me. He straightened his tie. I'm not here to ask for help, Annabel. I just needed you to know that I understand now. And I'm sorry. As he turned to leave, she called out, Dad. He paused at the door. There's a coffee shop around the corner. They make decent breakfast sandwiches. Maybe, next week. A small smile crossed his face. I'd like that. After he left, Annabel opened the envelope and looked at the worthless shares of her father's fallen company. Then she glanced at her own company's latest financial reports. Another record quarter. Monica burst in. Did I just see your dad leaving? Are you okay? I'm fine, Annabel said, meaning it. Actually, I'm better than fine. What did he want? Annabel tucked the envelope into her desk drawer. To admit he was wrong. To say he's proud of me. And are you going to help him? Annabel thought about her grandmother, about legacy, about earning success. No, she said finally. But I might have breakfast with him next week. Monica smiled. Your grandmother would approve of that. Looking out at her growing empire, Annabel knew her grandmother had been right. Sometimes karma wasn't about revenge. It was about finding your own path, even when others tried to block it. And sometimes, just sometimes, it was about being strong enough to listen when those who wronged you finally admitted their mistakes. The autumn breeze rustled through the cemetery as Annabel placed fresh flowers on her grandmother's grave. The marble headstone gleamed in the morning sun, her name etched in an elegant script. I brought someone to see you, Grandma, Annabel said softly, stepping aside as her father approached. He placed his own bouquet beside hers, his hands trembling slightly. They had been meeting for breakfast every Wednesday for the past month, slowly rebuilding what they had lost. Today, he had asked to come here with her. Hello, Mother, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I should have visited sooner. Annabel's phone buzzed. Another news alert about Jesse. He had been arrested in Dubai for trying to use fake documents to access frozen accounts. Grace had already fled to Europe with whatever she could salvage from the wreckage of their lives. Did you see the news? Her father asked. Annabel nodded. Karma has a way of catching up. That it does. He straightened up, adjusting his now-worn tie. I have something to tell you. I got a job offer yesterday. A small consulting firm, helping companies transition to sustainable practices. That's wonderful, Annabel exclaimed. They found me through you, actually, her father continued. They said if I taught you everything you know about business, I must be worth hiring. He smiled. I told them you taught me more than I ever taught you. A familiar voice called from behind them. Annabel, I thought I might find you here. They turned to see Virgil approaching, carrying a folder. Your grandmother left instructions to give you this after certain conditions were met, he said, handing Annabel the folder. You've exceeded all of them. Inside was a letter, written in her grandmother's distinctive handwriting. My dearest Annabel, if you're reading this, you've done more than simply claim your inheritance. You've earned it. You've built something meaningful, something sustainable. But more importantly, you've learned the lesson I hoped you would. That true success comes not from what we're given, but from what we create. I'm sorry I had to be secretive about the trust fund, but I needed you to find your own strength. Your father had to learn his lesson too, though I suspect his will be harder. Remember, legacy isn't about money or power, it's about impact. Make yours count. All my love, Grandma. Tears blurred Annabel's vision as she passed the letter to her father. He read it silently, then folded it carefully. She knew, he said quietly. Annabel nodded. She knew I would fail you and she prepared for it. She knew I could learn from it. Virgil cleared his throat. There's more. Your grandmother left instructions for a charitable foundation to be established once you proved yourself. The paperwork is ready. She wanted you to lead it. A foundation? Annabel asked, her heart racing. To help young entrepreneurs, especially women, start sustainable businesses, Virgil explained, smiling. She believed in paying it forward. Her father touched the headstone gently. That sounds exactly like her. Looking between her grandmother's grave and the folder in her hands, Annabel felt everything come full circle. Her grandmother hadn't just given her an escape route. She had given her a mission. Dad, Annabel said suddenly, would you like to help with the foundation? Your experience could be valuable. Her father looked startled, then deeply moved. You trust me with that? Trust is earned, Annabel replied. Just like success. But everyone deserves a chance to rebuild. Virgil handed her a pen. Shall we make it official? As Annabel signed the foundation documents on her grandmother's grave, she felt a profound sense of peace. Her father stood beside her, not as the man who had betrayed her, but as someone learning to be better. Somewhere in Europe, Grace and Jesse were facing the consequences of their actions. And here Annabel was building something new again, not out of revenge or spite, but out of hope. What would you name it? Her father asked. Annabel looked at her grandmother's name on the headstone, remembering her strength, her foresight, and her belief in earning one's way. The Legacy Foundation, Annabel decided. Because true legacy isn't what we inherit, it's what we build. The autumn wind picked up, scattering leaves around them. In that moment, Annabel could almost feel her grandmother's approval. She had known all along that losing her inheritance would lead her to something greater. Not just success, but understanding. Not just wealth, but wisdom. And as Annabel stood there, between her father and her grandmother's grave, holding the future of a new foundation in her hands, she realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, building better, and helping others do the same. That was the real inheritance her grandmother had left her. And Annabel intended to make it count.